about yourself.
Oh, my name is Angelo Collazo. I am 52 years old, if you believe it. I don't look it. I live in the city of Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York, well, actually Western New York, right off Lake Ontario, directly across from Toronto, Ontario. I work for a city school district, or excuse me, a school district as an IT tech. I am married, been married for the last 18 years. And yeah, and other than Alle, I have a second daughter named Ella, which is Alle spelled backwards, who just turned 11 and is the most kindest and beautiful girl and a budding actress.
Yes, yes, yes. So today, our story, we have you here. We're talking about, and I did reach out to Jody Picoult, and we're talking about her book. It just so happened to be a story that is related to families who have OI. She's not here tonight, as you can see. That is Angelo Collazo. And so I wanted to have, I reached out for Jody Picoult, and she couldn't make it. Happy anniversary to you. And I did tag her here. And so I wanted someone who had personally gone through this. And something I didn't know was that Angelo, he had gotten a book personally autographed from Judy Picoult. And tell us how that happened. How did it come about that you got this book?
Well, we were doing our getting set up for our first walk shortly after Alle passed away, and we met a young lady who worked in an orphanage who had was taking care of a kid who had OI, and unfortunately, he passed away after he was adopted by or given to another family, and then something happened, some operation he should have had that she didn't want them to have, and he had. So they heard about our walk that we were doing and reached out to us, and we talked, and then she mentioned about the book, and then she wrote to Jody saying, like, this family just had a baby who passed away from OI, and we saw he had a book, blah 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 blah. And then the next thing I know, like maybe a week or so later, we get this package, and it's a book from Jody Picoult, and it was a Handle with Care, and it was autographed by her. And I was like, wow. I mean, well, we both were like, wow. We were just honored that she would do something like this.
That is beautiful. Now, how long did it take you to read the book?
Well, Alle would have been 12 years old this year, and it took me 12 years to read that book. As well as sitting down in her keepsake box that we have. And I tried many times to pick it up and read it, and I just didn't feel like it was the right time. I heard the gist of what the book's about, but still, I don't know. Part of me just wasn't ready yet.
Mhm. So, and you said you got this, I talked to you earlier, you have the book in 2009, and did you say that's when your daughter passed, the year you got the book?
Yep, she passed away in May, and I believe we got the book in July.
And do educate us as much as you know of educate us on OI.
Well, Osteogenesis Imperfecta, or OI, is a rare genetic brittle bone disease. It's the body is not producing enough collagen in the body. It has to do with the A10C collagen gene. A person born with OI is going to have it for the rest of your life. You don't develop it later, and you don't grow out of it. Like I said, the bones are weak. They're not very they're very fragile. Just the simple act of coughing too hard, sneezing too hard, walking, changing your sheets, putting your coat or put on your shirt could cause a fracture. there's a lot of other things that goes along with the brittle bone disease. People that just think brittle bone disease, but you got to think collagen is in every fiber of us. Basically, it's kind of like the glue that hold us together. So at certain points, depends on like what type you have. Some people at a certain age can start losing their hearing because of the collagen in the eardrum because it goes weak. They can lose their sight, loose joints, chronic pain. Their teeth are bad. There's a multitude of things that that's OI related that people will not think of. They just hear brittle bone disease. They just think that your bones are brittle. And then there are other people who say, well, if it's do with your bones, just drink a lot more milk.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
So what type of OI did your daughter have?
Alle was born with type 2, which is the most lethal. There's like 18 that I saw last types of it, but some of them kind of intermix with each other. But the ones they really concern themselves about, and you hear them the most about, is type 1 through 4. And Ellie had type 2, and the prognosis of her living was short. But there was a point in time where she made it past, as long as they thought she was going to live, and so they were getting ready to declassify her as maybe a type 3-4, and we were ready to take her home before she took her turn for the worse.
Mm. I had been, Angelo, I seen you first on Periscope. And when I saw you, you was telling your story about your daughter. And at the time, of course, she had passed. And I remember you telling your story, and I would see Alle, she was outside and she was talking and stuff. And you would do different videos with her. And like the story, there is the O'Keefe family, and you had Charlotte and her husband Sean, and then they had I think adopted girl
Amelia.
You had her, and in there they were. She was 38 years old and she was pregnant, and they spoke about mutation, saying that it's pretty much like a mutation type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really going through, and I like the way Jody did this story. They were going through about their during the pregnancy, and that's where I want to talk with you. But during the pregnancy, and according to the book, Charlotte didn't really, she had a friend, and her friend did her ultrasound. So she wasn't really given the opportunity, and they give them opportunity. Do you want to abort the baby or you want to keep the baby? So they knew about it in the womb. Did you and Kim know that you were carrying a child with OI during pregnancy?
No. All we knew was just something was wrong. At Kim's 20-week ultrasound, we went in, and I wanted to know the sex of the baby. Kim didn't want to. So, we did the ultrasound. We had the tech write it down on a card and seal it, and we was going to open it at our family Christmas party. But later that night, it was probably around maybe around 11:15 at night. The phone rang, and they said, "Can I speak to Kim, or can I speak to Kimberly?" And I thought it was a telemarketer. So I was like, she's in bed right now. It's like almost 11 o'clock at night. And then the guy goes, "This is Dr. Klimek." It was her OB. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I was like, okay, let me go get her. So I'm like, wait a minute, why is he calling so late? So I went to the bedroom and put him on speakerphone, and he was talking to us, and he said that he noticed that after he was reviewing the ultrasound that Allie's arms and legs were at 16 weeks. They're like 4 weeks behind. So he wanted us to make an appointment, come back in just to, double measure, because sometimes when the babies move around, they could throw off the formula of the measurement. So he just wanted to see if that was happening. So of course, we were worried. Made the appointment. I think it was like a day or two later that we went in. He did the ultrasound. we waited for the results, and he confirmed that her arms and legs were 4 weeks behind in growth. So he was saying this could be, maybe a sign of dwarfism or something like that. But he kept every 2 weeks, I believe, going in for ultrasounds to check Alle's growth. And every time we went in, her torso was where it should have been, but her arms and legs were still behind. So after a while, he released us to Strong Hospital, which is part of Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It's one of the biggest ones here in Rochester. And because he didn't have rights to deliver there, and they have specialists and there. So we had to go, well, Kim had to go to this place where ultrasound was like every 2 weeks. Now, this is the most frustrating part of it, because every 2 weeks that she went, there was a different doctor, because they rotated doctors out. So every 2 weeks when she went for an ultrasound, and when I was able to go with her, we got a different diagnosis. And there's a couple times we got the same doctor, Dr. Okan. I would never forget her name, because she was the most morbid. She was preparing us for, like, she don't think this child's going to survive. And they never did say anything about abortion, though. But she said, I don't think this child's going to make it. And so we, didn't like going to her a lot. But yeah, so it's like every 2 weeks we got a different diagnosis, but OI was never ever mentioned. It wasn't even like an afterthought. And there was one ultrasound where Kim said, like, doesn't look like her thigh is broken, her thigh bone, and the doctor's like, he's looking, and it literally looked like this.
Wow.
And the doctor's like, no, it's just a shadow on the ultrasound. It's like, it looks broken. And he goes, nope, it's just a shadow. So, we just kind of took it at that. And like I said, they really had no idea. And like I said, every 2 weeks we got a different diagnosis, what they thought it could be. They never mentioned OI until the day that she was born. And the plan was they wouldn't do a test to see if, because I think when the baby's inside, when they could breathe on their own, they release, like CO2 gas or something like that inside the fluid. So they're going to sample the fluid. And if they see whatever they need to see, then it's like, okay, we're going to induce you and have her born. She was born, I believe, 3 weeks early. And then that was after she was born. That's when we found out she had OI, because they took her away from us. I mean, she looked normal to me. They cleaned her up, do everything they're supposed to do for the baby, and took her away. And it was like hours before we heard anything. And that's when the team of doctors and geneticists came into our room and told us that Alle had OI type 2. And of course, we have never heard of it, like many people. And we're like, oh, what is it? Then the NICU doctor turned it over to the geneticist, and he explained what it was. And we were like, okay, we were just like in shock. And it really didn't hit home until we saw her x-rays. And that was like the lowest point I think we had at that moment. Because when we saw the x-rays and explained all the breaks that she had, it was just, I mean, our heart just dropped. And they really weren't expecting her to live the night, because they said that we could get her baptized for you. I mean, they even, no, let me put it this way. They said we could find a chaplain and get her baptized. They didn't even give us the option if we wanted to or not. That's how dire it was.
Well, can you explain the breaks that she had, the fractures or break?
In the x-rays, they showed us the breaks she had. Her rib cage was broken, and they had fresh breaks, and some were healing. They showed us like the ones that were healing, and that was just from being in utero, from just moving around, which is pretty much common. Babies who have OI in the utero, they could just move around, they could break something. Her legs were broken, her wrist was broken, her arm was broken. Her skull was very soft and undeveloped, because like I said, there wasn't enough collagen in the skull. So the skull was like very soft in the back. And her skull had like little cracks in it. It was like little road maps. So she had to be on morphine pretty much her whole 5 weeks.
Her whole 5 weeks. And because I've been following you, but could you tell them, for those who just came on, how long did she live, and when did you and your wife first get a chance to hold her?
Ellie lived for 5 weeks, and it was maybe about a week before we were able to hold her, but we had to be careful. So it was a two-person job. We had to sit in the chair, and the nurse will put like a cushion and some padding in on our lap and our arms, and then they will lift Allie up very gently and then put her on the cushion. We couldn't really get that skin-to-skin contact with her, and that was, it was good. We could hold her, but was also sad that we really couldn't feel her like we should.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bit before they figured out how we could close her, because you couldn't really move her or anything because her arms were so fragile. So we had to find baby clothing that buttoned down the middle, so we could just open it up, lift her up, lay her down, kind of move her arms into the sleeves, and then button her up again. So that way we wouldn't have to like pull on her or try to put something over her head or anything. And changing her diaper was also like a two-person job. One person had to lift her up gently. One person took the diaper off, cleaned her up, put the diaper back on, and we couldn't even fasten it because that's how fragile she was. So we just kind of like closed it.
Mm. And you said that they asked you, like almost demanded you just to go ahead and get her Christian.
Yes. And one of the nurses found the dress, and she got the dress, and we just kind of like laid it on top of her.
Mm-hmm. And I know this is very sentimental because I've been following you enough. And the moment you got to hold your daughter, what happened?
Well, the one time that I got to hold her the way I should have held her was the day that she was passing away. And what happened was that she had type 2 and her rib cage was underdeveloped. It was like a bell shape. So like I said, they couldn't really do a lot of tests that they normally do on babies because she was so fragile. Like they couldn't put a tourniquet on her arm to take blood. So they had to try to take blood of her skull, from her head, because they couldn't put tourniquets on. So they couldn't do a lot of the tests. So when they found out that CO2 gases was building up in her, at that point, it was like nothing really could do. I mean, we were, like I said, we're getting ready to take her home. We had I believe 16 or 18 hours of nursing service lined up. We had to have a DNR for her because you wouldn't be able to do anything for her, like chest compressions, like on an infant chest compressions or anything, because she was so fragile. But the nurse from the palliative care, we were in the room and we didn't know what to do. And she was saying like the CO2 gases are building up in her, and what's going to happen is that she's just going to fall asleep. It's like when the miners get trapped in mines, that CO2 gases build up and they just pretty much fall asleep. And she said she's not going to be in pain, and they know that we were great with her care. We had a dedicated nursing staff for her because they were more familiar with her. And we had to have a sign on her because one day somebody was doing something. We're like, whoa, 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 no, you can't do that to her. No, you can't do that. So we had to put basically, I'm fragile, handle me with care, literally, on her crib. And so we were like, okay, we'll take her off the oxygen, made the decision. But I said, can we just go in the family room? Because I don't want we don't want the sounds of the beeping and the noise and the NICU be the last thing we hear.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the doctors said, it's a beautiful day outside. This was May 21st of 2009. Like I said, 5 weeks after she was born, April 4th of 2009, and died May 21st, 2009. And it was a beautiful day outside. So the hospital had like a deck for the children to go out and play. So they cleared the deck off, and they took her off the oxygen. And a nurse and the palliative care nurse was walking with us as we were heading up to the deck to hold her and say our goodbyes. And that was super emotional and got me a little angry because of the, well, I was on crutches because the first time we took her out on that deck, she ran out of oxygen. So I was running her back out. I was trying to get her back downstairs, and the one elevator to go directly down the NICU was a little slow. So I was like, I'll run her downstairs. It's just one floor below us. So I'm running down the steps, holding her in my arms and with the cushions and everything. And I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I missed the last two steps and I fractured my foot, my left foot.
Mm.
And they were surprised and amazed that I did not drop her. That there's no way I was going to drop her. So I like hobbled all the way to the NICU, and the nurse met me there and they took her, and I went to the ED and then found out I fractured my foot. So, so her last day I was on crutches. So we were trying to go up to the elevator and the elevator was full. And we didn't know how much time we had before her oxygen was just, the CO2 gas was taking over. And I'm crying, my wife is crying, and we're like, please, we need to get on this elevator right now. There was really no room for us. It was so full. And I guess some people saw our emotions and they got off, except for these two guys. So we get on, we go up to the thing and we get off, and I hear the one guy says like, why didn't they just take the stairs or something like that? And I'm like, if it wasn't for her, but know how much time we had left with her, I would have went back and said something. And that's not like me. But I'm like,
you stayed
really?
focused. I'm glad you stayed focused on what you needed to do.
That hurt me. I was like, you see these two people crying and holding a baby in their arms and hooked up to all this stuff. And you was like, why didn't they just take the stairs? Well, anyway, so we sat outside. I think it was a little over an hour before she passed. So we sat on this one bench and held her, talked to her, told her, all the dreams and plans we had for her. We used to play music for her when she was in Kim's belly. And we played music for her when she was in the NICU. And it calmed her down when she got fussy. And we found out she really liked Jason Mraz and Bare Neck Ladies. And that was two of the groups that I liked. But she said, sometimes when we called it down to the NICU to see how she was doing, you could hear the music in the background playing.
Oh.
So, but we didn't have any music playing for her when we were holding her. We just held her. And like I said, it was just such a beautiful day out. And I talked to her about, I was going to take care of you. I promised I was going to, keep you from all the evils in the world. And I know there was nothing I could do, but part of me feels guilty because I promised her I would protect her and I couldn't do anything. And that's it's like the one regret I have. And I understand, but today I just can't get that feeling out of my head that I let her down. And I know that's my cross to bear. And maybe one day I'll come to grips with it, but for right now I can't.
Yeah, you really didn't let her down from just talking to you now, from you going to the elevator, staying the course of her being in your hand, breaking your what was it, your ankle or leg, holding her carefully. And I think you did. I think you did what you were supposed to do, the way you carried her, rather than to break her. That would have been more severe in your mind, I would think so. And I'm not you. And I think you did protect her. I believe that you did. I believe that you did. And I know you were talking about Kim and how she felt about maybe she did something. And in the book too, that's what Charlotte was feeling like, maybe when I fail, maybe when this happened, did I break her then? Because she was talking about how there was where she was broken and there was some break that healed. So tell us, what was your wife feelings like toward carrying during the pregnancy, that she felt maybe some sort of blame? Could you tell us about that?
Well, Kim was a school teacher. She's retired now, but there was an incident where she tripped over like an easel or something in school and fell. They took her to the hospital to make sure everything was okay. But once we found out that, Allie had OI and then we saw the breaks, Kim was like, oh my God, I must have done that. And the doctor was trying to say, like, no, their baby's really protected in her. There's no way you could have. But, to this day, you're not going to change her mind. I
Mhm.
try to tell, like, I don't think, you had anything to do with it. Try to keep her calm. But just like me with my little guilt,
Mhm.
that's her across the bear right there. She thinks that she caused harm
Mm.
when she fell, which, could be true. But
Mhm.
that's the way it goes with an OI baby.
Yeah, I just pray that you both can have that comfort and that peace that neither one of you were at fault. It just, you know, and just have that, whatever you can encourage one another, which brings me to Sean and Charlotte. They fought one another in the book, and um, it caused a big separation in there. And it was one scene in the book that I did not like what Sean did when it came to, he was being upset and they were going to go to court because Charlotte decided her friend um, Piper, and Piper, against her own will, she didn't want to have her friend, her best friend, as her doctor, but it happened that way. And then things that she know, like you said, they told you that oh, it's fine and stuff. And so they were telling Charlotte in the book the same. And so it really put a rift in their relationship. And she wanted to go to court to sue. He didn't. So he's going to court against her. And so that was a lot. So with you two, did you stay pretty much to the course of not blaming each other like they did in here, or you had your own separate feelings that you didn't want to talk about, or maybe you did during the either during the pregnancy or after Ellie had passed? Did you have some sort of regret or just a smidge hidden animosity?
The only thing I think that really, I know there wasn't much of a riff, but like she believed that she hurt Allie when she fell. And then there was a time where I mean, we were in NICU for pretty much the whole 5 weeks. And I just started my job. And so I didn't have much vacation time, because I just started. So she was pretty much there. And I mean, it was weighing on her being there for the whole time, seeing everything. And
Mhm.
like when Allie cried, she wasn't getting enough oxygen, so she would turn blue, and it weighed on her a lot. And so she was like, I can't stay. I got to go home. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, go home. And this is one thing that kind of she feels, I guess, a little guilty about is when Allie took her turn for the worse. I told her, I was like, Kim, just go home, relax, just go home, relax. You're not doing any good unless you take care of yourself. And that's when she got a
Mhm.
call from the hospital saying, like, Allie almost passed away and she wasn't there. So I was like, I'm like, I understand. I was like, but you still need to take care of yourself. So
Mhm.
I left work, picked her up and went there. And then that's when they explained the situation to her about how Allie's lungs weren't developed enough. And that's why CO2 gas was building up. But that was the thing. Kim felt like she felt bad because she wasn't there. And
Mhm.
the hospital knew that we wanted to be there when everything happened. So they kind of broke their own protocol and put her on a CPAP machine to help force the
Mhm.
air into her to keep her alive
Mhm.
until we got there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because we had a
Wow.
DNR. So if something was going to happen, it was going to happen, but they knew. So that we were forever grateful for them for that because we got to spend her last waking moments with her.
Wow. Could you tell us what those acronyms mean? The
DNR means do not resuscitate.
okay.
So it was hard to sign the papers to have that done for somebody who's, it's like a few weeks old.
Mhm.
So that was That was the hardest thing to do. It was like, even when we took her home, there was the ambulance. If something happened, the nurse that was there or the ambulance when they came, they would just pretty much make her as comfortable as possible. And it's just the thought of that, just, it's something a parent shouldn't worry about.
Yeah. Um, when you have a second child, Ella, when you were pregnant with her, at any moment, were you afraid? Was it a planned pregnancy? Being the fact that you lost your first to OI.
It was a plan. It was, but one thing I forgot to mention, we had trouble conceiving, so we did IVF for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor who did Alle's did Ella's too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the part that shows there are good people in the world. When he didn't know any of this stuff happened with Alle. He told us that we were pregnant and everything. Then once everything was good with the pregnancy, we were away from his fertility clinic. But when they were the hospital was trying to get records of Alle, they contacted him and then he called us. He was like, "What's going on?" And we told him what's happening. He had no clue that Alle had OI and all this was happening.
Hmm.
So he told us after a while that once we lost Alle, he contacted us, said, like, if you want to do this again, he goes, "I won't charge you." He said, "I can't say anything for the hospital fees, but for me, the care and everything, all the stuff is, you just got to pay maybe for the labs, but my fees, I'm going to waive for you," which was pretty cool. So he did the IVF for Ella. And also one of the doctors that did the ultrasounds when Kim had to go there for every 2 weeks, he left the practice and went to the hospital where our fertility clinic was, because he was more personable. And he said he hated the rotating. He hated his patients just being a chart. He would like to be more personable with people. So he started his own practice. And our fertility doctor and him were friends. And somehow we came up that we were trying again. And so he reached out to us. He goes, "You know what? I'll do all your ultrasounds for you. Come in, we have a consult, we could talk about everything, and I'll do all your ultrasounds for you personally." So we sat with him and he said, we could do, I can never say this word right, an amniocentesis.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. To see if there's any OI genes in her. And, we had to do it and send it off to someplace in Pennsylvania or whatever. And he said, but there's risk to that. We could damage the embryo, blah, 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 blah. And we were like, no matter what. He goes, "I could tell by the listen talking to you that you don't want to do that. No matter what happens, you're going to love this baby and go through the full pregnancy." We're like, "Yeah." And he goes, "And to let you know, it's a 1% chance that OI will happen again, since we were genetically tested after Alle. And it didn't run in my family, didn't run in Kim's family. We weren't, sometimes when it's a spontaneous mutation, one of the parents, and I think mainly it's the father, has a recessive gene for it. And we didn't have it. And this spontaneous mutation was, at the time, was the second reported case. And the other one was a girl in England. And they showed us the case study. So Alle was the second reported spontaneous mutation for this type of mutation of OI. But we didn't breathe. Well, we breathed a little sigh of relief when we went to the 20-week ultrasound, and everything was normal for Ella. And then we finally sighed of relief when the day that she was born.
Wow. And you were able to hold her.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I seen you on Periscope, I'm going way back when, and I used to hear, because she's such an actress,
Yeah.
and she's doing what she's doing now. But I remember seeing her with this beautiful, you guys, if you ever see a picture of her, this beautiful blonde afro, just beautiful hair. And she was probably about, I want to say maybe 5 during the Periscope time when you were doing Periscope.
Yeah, probably around that age. Yeah.
And I remember her walking around talking about her sister. So at this time, I don't know that your firstborn had passed. She was talking as if she had conversations with her sister. And I remember you saying and videotaping that she said some things that there's no way she should have known anything. I don't know if you remember that, but I certainly remember because I was following you. And so it reminded me of, but yours was a little different. So in the story, Willow is the one who had OI
Mhm.
in Jodi Picoult's story. And then Amelia, if I said her name right, she
Yeah.
was always jealous of her sister. And then it was a healthy sort of jealousy at first. But then there became times when her sister, something simple as she slipped and it was a napkin on the floor and she had a big break from that. So that caused them, and then her dad is a lieutenant. So it caused them to question, and it just became a big old case where they just took the baby from them.
Yeah.
And that was like that. So she had those jealousy things. So were there any time that, even though as strange of a question as it might be, those videos that I've seen and how she cared and talked, Ella talked about her sister, it made me think that she would say sometimes like she was sort of jealous of her sister.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because of the memory. Could you tell us about that? Unlike the character, her sister was alive and she was jealous, but here you have Ella's sister, she's passed. So she would just carry on like those things in Periscope time as you videotape, and she would say it would be her own talk. So do you remember those times? It was a
Yeah.
bit ago.
There was times where we told her about her big sister. We told her what happened. And there were some times when she was very sensitive about the matter. When we talked about it, she's like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. But one day she used to go to where my wife taught. Ella went to the school because teachers could bring their kids to the school with them, instead of paying the school taxes. But so they were coming home one day, and Kim, when I got home, Kim said, like, Ella said this to me, and when I was driving down the expressway, and it just took me off guard. Ella goes, do I have to die to get attention around here? So we're like, and she was a little sibling rivalry there, and we talked to her, and then we had my child psychologist talked to her about her feelings for that, and the
Mhm.
doctor's like, we do so much for Alle because we do the Alle project, we do the fundraisers, and when we get to that point, mainly me, I'm the one who's who's probably more focused on that than anything else. So I guess she was feeling a little left out. Like, we have the logo, like the logo shirts, and then I have like the logo in the back of my car, saying the Alle project, and you know, poor Ella just felt, what does she have to do to, you're not paying enough attention to me.
Mm.
So yeah, there was that little, yeah, she's a
Yeah,
little
and
better with
so,
that now.
oh, that's good. That is really good because I saw that in this story where she was jealous of Willow and the different things that she went back and forth with the sister uh, thing going on. Um, there was a scene in Judy's Jodi Picoult's story where there was a lady that was talking to Charlotte, and she was talking about how her name was Annie. That was her neighbor in Jodi Picoult's story. And Anna was pregnant, and of course she's Catholic and she go to mass. And so they saw her pregnant and then didn't see her anymore. And so Charlotte goes to see her about her. And they got really close, and she told her about that she did. Anna,
Mhm.
she had the choice whether she wanted to abort the baby or keep it,
Mhm.
although she was Catholic, and this dude, because of the mutation and different things like that. And so I took notes of some things that she said. She said that her mother told her, why don't you just go ahead and get away? Because they told her that they told Annie that the baby would be retarded. And they're supposed to do these tests when they're 22 weeks to see
Mhm.
if the fetus, you know, uh, if they could go ahead and just pronounce it, diagnosed as OI. But what got me that she said is when the baby died, they won't give you a they won't give you a birth certificate, but they'll give you a death certificate.
Mhm.
And when she said after her baby died, what they don't tell you is even though your baby has passed, your body reacts to that baby, whether it's living or not, and how her body was ready with her milk supply.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if your wife was going to be nursing or anything like that. That was just something I wanted to ask. Is there any way that, mourning, because of what the body has lost? Did you go through any, or did she even talk about that grieving point on a female aspect of losing a baby?
The first night home was hard for both of us. Um, Even harder for Kim because, like I said, for one thing, she thought that she hurt Alle when she fell, and she blames herself for that. Um, um, she fell into a little bit of depression because of it. Still has it today. I had it for a little bit myself, but there was times where, like, there was a blanket we used to cover Alle with, and she had the blanket. She was asleep with it, and she's like, she started crying. It's like the blanket doesn't smell like her anymore or anything like that. It was just really hard. I mean, it was a downward spiral for both of us, and even more so for her because she had to carry and do all those things that women do, and she in essence got cheated of holding the baby. There's that what they call the kangaroo hold or something like that. When they hold the baby close, she never had a chance to do any of that. So I mean, it to this day, for me, I held Alle in my right arm as she passed away, and to this day, I can never hold any other baby in that side of me. I just can't do it. That's Alle's arm forever. But yeah, she felt very hard, and this is her first pregnancy, so she was kind of oblivious to a lot of stuff, but it's just like she just got kind of cheated out of her first pregnancy being a normal one.
How soon after did you guys have Ella? Like, was there years apart? And
No, actually, they would have been a year and some months apart because Ella just turned 11 this November, actually last week, and Alle would have been 12 this past
wow.
April. Yeah.
Wow. So was there any like mental preparation, meaning that after losing one that you had to get your mind right for this next pregnancy? And
We talked about it. It's like, do you want to do it again? And with the doctor saying that he wasn't going to charge us, that kind of helped too. Because doing IVFs in New York is not paid for. You have to pay out of pocket for this. Unlike if we would have moved to, I think, like Virginia or someplace like that, it's covered, but you have to live there for a year or something. But unfortunately, in New York State, the IVF is not paid for, so we had everything we did was out of pocket. So that was kind of a big factor there too. So we talked about it and we decided to do it. And for me, at least, I was worried, it's like, what if she comes out looking just like, Alle with the black hair and it kind of looks like her. I'm like, I part of me was like, I don't know how I would feel about that. Would I feel happy or would I feel sad? Because every time I look at her, I'm be seeing Alle. But
Mhm.
when the day came, she's totally opposite.
Yeah.
Alle had the black hair. It was not as curly as Ella's, but it got curly when it got wet, kind of like mine, because mine like curly. That's where she gets the curls from.
Wow.
She had the brown eyes. Then Ella comes along. Ella has the blonde hair, blonde curly hair, and blue eyes.
Yeah.
And her complexion is a little bit lighter than what Allie's was. So she's totally different.
She is just a gorgeous. I know both of them beautiful. And so we don't talk, Angelo, we really don't talk a lot about male grieving, or neither do men as a whole really show,
Mhm.
that grieving process. Or like we have our friends and we have our family as being female that we can share that grieving with. Do you have someone to shoulder on a male friend or a male family member that when you have that moment, that you feel that moment of grieving, or those things that when you're reminded of those moments?
No, we did talk both to a grieving counselor
Mhm,
shortly after our insurance we have pretty good insurance and it
mhm,
paid for the counseling sessions up to a certain point. But no, Kim had hers and I had mine, and it felt good to talk to a guy. I had some of my friends I could talk to. Other than that, I really didn't have anybody else to talk
mhm,
to, and um, it always had been my problem. Kim
mhm,
will agree to this, that I always hold things in.
mhm.
I never really get that expressive of how I feel or something. I kind of just like will just shut down, and when not shut down, I'll just like be quiet about it. If something's bugging me, I don't really say too much. I It's just the way I've always been.
So are you a little bit better since then
A
about
little bit, yeah.
expressing your grief? A little bit better? Because I felt like when I first saw you on Periscope that you got a chance to kind of grieve openly with us. Because like I said, that's where I met you at. And what will you say to those men out there that's watching this? And we got people internationally watching, and we got people from different areas of life watching. What would you say to the male during these grieving process or those moments? What would you say to the men out there?
Don't be afraid to grieve. Don't be afraid to cry. That's the best way. I mean, if you hold it in, there's something's going to burst in you. It's going to be like a dam. It's going to burst in. It's going to, and not only you have to take care of your wife, your significant other there who's going through the same process. We don't always have to be the big strong man.
Mhm,
Letting our emotions show, letting them go helps a lot. I mean, shortly after, it was a year after Allie passed away. It was the anniversary of her death, and I should have stayed home. I thought I could handle it. Being a man, I could handle it, but I have pictures of her on my wall, and I just lost it. I was just like
mm,
crying at work. I just shut my. I just lost it. I was maybe a good half an hour. I was crying,
mhm,
and
mhm,
I should have just stayed home that day. So times after that, I just stayed home. I mean,
mhm,
there's times where guys, you just like I said, you don't have to be the big strong guy. You need to, as they say, when you fly, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you do your kid, because
yeah,
you're not doing any good if you're passing out before they do.
mhm,
So take care of yourself too. Don't be afraid to grieve. Do not be afraid to grieve. Don't think it's a weakness of you
mhm.
crying. It's not a weakness. It's just tears of love.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
like
tears
that,
of love.
tears of love. Yeah. So tell us about your Alishay project. Could you tell us about that?
That is to me. one of my best ways to grieve is doing helping others with OI. Shortly after Alle was diagnosed with OI, our pediatrician came in with more information about OI. Somebody we knew contacted the OI Foundation. We didn't know this, but they found out about it. And it's like, is there anything we could do to help raise awareness? And they say, well, we usually people do like they call walking wheels, because a lot of people with OI, or not a lot of people, some people with OI could be in wheelchairs. So they call it a walking wheel. So we're like, okay, we'll do that when we, plan something. And like I said, that's when Alle passed away. She passed away May 21st of 2009. So we contacted OI Foundation. We had a contact Stuart Tart, and he said, hey, this is what we do. They find a track or someplace, and we'll give you all the materials you need, any publications you need for information. So we're like, okay. So by May to August, we had everything set up. The school where I worked at, the school they let me use the track for the walk. I went around, Kim and I went around to a lot of businesses asking for donations for our raffles. And that in itself was the hardest part, and it still is the hardest part for me, because I have to tell Alle's story over and over and over again. When I get home, I am an emotional wreck. I am just like drained, because people have not heard of OI. So you're like, why am I going to donate to this thing? I don't know what this is. You could be scamming me. And then at the time that we were planning our first event, there was a lot of things in news in our area about people faking cancer, or in the news that somebody was giving her kid pills and shaving her head to make them sick so they could get money and all this kind of stuff. Some lady about 45 minutes south of us told her family members that she had cancer, and people did this big benefit for her and all this kind of stuff. But somehow, I can't remember how, but she got discovered and she got in trouble because she had a family member take her to the hospital. She never let them go in with her. She would go to the hospital and go somewhere for a while and come back out. And then oh, it was tough treatment or something like that. So I have to literally validate Alle's death and OI in order for people to donate. And there were some people very kind, and they said like, well, I may have heard about it, or I'll leave them information. And I told them here's a tax ID number that the OI Foundation let us have their tax ID so they could write it off. And I'm like, if you have any questions, you can call the OI Foundation directly, because I don't want to seem like I'm scamming anybody. And we have a lot of people who still to this day donate to us. But it was stressful. For one, I was worried about the weather, because we did it in August, and here in Rochester in upstate New York, August is like very hot at times, or it could be very wet.
Yeah.
Heck, we even get snow all the way up until April, sometimes early May sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the weather is always crazy. So our first event went off pretty well. Made the news. We had news interviews. I mean, I had my first interview out there. I have a website for the Alle Shape Project, and I have a lot of stuff up there. And it was just amazing. We were just going to do the walk just one time, just this one time to honor Alle and to help the OI Foundation. After the walk was over, this is maybe 3 or 4 days later, I'm driving home from work and I get a call from Stuart Tart, and he said, you guys did great on your first walk. He goes, you guys raised about $11,000 on your first walk.
Wow.
And he goes, that was bigger than some of the bigger cities out there that do these things.
Wow.
And we were like, wow. And, I came home, told Kim that, and I was like, holy cow, that was amazing. And so, okay, we did our part. That was going to be it. And then people called into my school district, and it's like, hey, do you know if they're going to do that walk again? And then some of our friends on Facebook like, are you going to do another walk? We're like, we weren't planning on it. So you should do another one. So like, okay, we'll do another one. So we're like, okay, we'll just do a second one. So we did a second one. And then it turned into a third one. It turned into a fourth one. I believe we did 5 or 6 before we shifted direction to something else. Because like I said, I was worried. I was constantly checking the weather. I was driving Kim crazy by checking the weather. It's like, oh God, please, people got to show up at blah, blah, you know. And then after we're like, no, okay, we're not gonna do a walk again. We're gonna do something different. So after the walk, we came up with this thing called Oh, I Love Dessert and Dance. And the reason that came across is because when Alle was a little fussy, like I said, we used to put the music on, and they used to put little sucrose, little sugar water on her pacifier and give it to her. She loved it, and that calmed her down. So we was like, so let's combine Alle's love of sweets and music. So we do a dessert themed fundraiser. Um, and we have like a dessert contest, we have raffles. We go to some places to get like sweets for them to sample. We have a wonderful company, BNL Entertainment that came and always did our DJ karaoke booth. We had a photo booth. And it was a great time. You know, we come in, get sugared up, and go home.
What did you guys do this year? And you do it once or twice a year, or because I know I seen you did a video at I think it's Uno's.
Yes.
You do something there, and what other places you do? And then you was doing the egg where you just crack the egg.
I'm always constantly trying to think of ways to raise awareness. So these are things we've done so far. Every year for Allie's birthday, we do a fundraiser called a dough raiser at Uno Chicago Pizzeria and Grill. The first year we didn't do it. The second year, when we're looking for donations, Kim contacted them and said, well, we don't give out donations, but we do this, where basically it's the simplest fundraiser you could, anybody, if you're a 301c nonprofit, you contact them, you fill out this form, they give you what they call a voucher, and you give it to the people. And when they come in to eat, you give them the voucher at the end of your meal when you get your bill, and a portion up to 15%, up to 20% of your bill will go to the OI Foundation. They'll send a check at the end of the day. So that's the easiest thing. We do that. We're there. We always have like a couple things to raffle off. We have a 50-50 raffle there too. And it's been so great that the Uno's contacted me and said, like, you know what? You can have this day every day. And the date that we pick is Allie's birthday, April 14th. So every year on April 14th, we always have that fundraiser there. And like I said, they love us there. They said it's one of the biggest that they ever have. So they said that April 14th is permanently your day.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And we also do the dessert and dance, where, like I said, we do the dessert themed fundraiser with karaoke, music, also raffle prizes. We haven't done it the past couple of years because of COVID, unfortunately.
Yes.
And then I got the idea of a bunch of people in the OI chat room one day talking about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I said, well, can't we do something like that for OI? And there's been like other things. There's like one where people tell jokes and like kind of, it's like, oh, I cracked myself up or something like that, where people tell jokes and then pass it on to somebody else and it was something else. And I was like, you know what? How about an egg? I'm like, because I always described Allie's skull was like cracked like an egg, How about, you just break an egg over your head or something, and you call it, I call it I break for OI. So I've been doing that for the past 5-6 years, and I'm hoping that, like, go viral, and it hasn't yet. I mean, there has been people taking it.
We've got this here is international here, and then there's a lady, if she's still here, April Thomas. I'm pretty sure that she will invite you, so be on the lookout for her.
Mhm.
April, say hello um, there in the chat room. And most certainly, I know that she would have you on her show, and be on the lookout for her. And if she's
Okay.
still here, I will pass your information to her. We will not, you see, I still follow you. I will not let you go. You're very dear to me, and I watch what
Thank
you
you.
do. We donate as well to you guys as well. Tell them about the wonderful thing you do for other people with the little stuff bears. Do tell us about that. Beanie Bags. Tell
Yeah.
us what you do for there.
Well, that came about. We've been doing that for the past 4 years, 4 or 5 years now, I believe. Also, um, I thought of it back in, say, around late November, around this time, December, because you always see the thing for Toys for Tots, or Marines. They give the toys for kids in hospitals. Like, is there anything like that for kids with OI? So I looked. I didn't find anything. So I'm like, you know what? Let's try this. Let's try sending care packages to kids who have OI all over the world. It's like we can send them something like little stuffed animals, beanie babies. And
Mhm.
then I believe Kim came up with the idea of calling them snuggle buddies. So you can have a snuggle buddy. So the thing about kids with OI, I mean, they have breaks. Some of them breaks more. I mean, once again, it all depends on what type you have. Some people that have type 1, you have very few breaks in your lifetime, or you can have more. You have type 2, which unfortunately, like is fatal. And there's type 3 and 4, which Willow had, was a combination between 3 and 4,
Mhm.
and they could break, a lot. So we figured they have to be in a hospital. Give them Hospitals for kids could be a very scary place. So give them a snuggle buddy. So they could take it to the hospital. There's some kids, or and then even adults, have to go through treatments. Uh, they call it PAM, for short for Pandrominate, I believe it's called. I may have said it wrong. It's a IV that they have to do, I believe, over 3 days, and it doesn't prevent breaks, but it helps to prevent breaks. It doesn't. It's not a cure all, unfortunately. So they're in the hospital doing that. So we like, if they're in the hospital to get a treatment, if they're in the hospital from a break, or if they're having surgery, because a lot of kids have to have what they call rotting surgeries, because some people with OI, their legs are bowed or their arms. So basically, it's like when people break their femur or something, they put a rod in you. Basically, that's what they're doing with a rotting surgery. They basically hollow out the bone, put the rod in there, and then think about it. Whenever you're a little kid, after a certain point, some of them now are telescoping, they will grow with you, but at a certain point, you have to have them replaced. And I have seen pictures where people fell or something, they broke their bones with the rods in there, and they bent the rods. So they would have to have those replaced, as well. So we're like, so let's just do that. Let's just send um, snuggle buddies out to kids. And I really did not think it was going to go over that well, but it
Mhm.
did. We have sent almost 200 packages all over the world, 41 out of the 50 states and 10 countries. We sent them to England, Germany, Latvia,
Mm.
Brazil, Ireland, and we sent them all over. And this is, we do this on our dime.
Mhm.
This is what we do, and we sacrifice a lot to keep the allergy project running. We um sold some of our wedding gifts that we gave each other, anniversary gifts we gave
Mhm.
each other, just to keep afloat.
Mhm.
And it's a good thing. I haven't sent any. I've The last one I sent, I think, was over to England. But with the COVID and everything like that, you got to be a little bit cautious now. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't really sent that many out recently, until
Mhm.
things kind of hopefully improve.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest feeling, and the best thing is when we get parents who email me about, you made my son or daughter's day. One parent even gave us a nice phone call. Every once in a while, I'll repost those videos and everything. And it just touches you when you do something good for somebody. You know, you're making a difference.
Yeah.
Um, the videos that some parents sent, like for their kid open up a package, you know, just like she was surprised. And then just recently, about 2, 3 months ago, a parent made a TikTok video of her daughter open up a package and said like it just you know made her day, and
Ah,
she was so happy.
that is wonderful. So where can they tell us where they can donate? What web, what are
To the
they
OI
doing?
Foundation,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, either
they could
one,
go.
both pages to donate. Those that are watching and people all over the world, you won't just, I'm sure that you guys, from listening to his story, Angelo Collazo's story about his daughter having OI and how he is helping others put a smile on their face because he does understand. So tell them where they can donate if they like to donate, those websites. Could you tell us on them?
Yeah, we have a website, and you can find us on PayPal. The website is www.allesheaproject ALLESHEA project.org, and they can find stuff on my website about that, or you could just do PayPal. The email is allesheaproject@gmail.com.
Mhm.
And oh, I
And
just got one story to tell you about the Snuggle Buddies.
yes.
Right now, I'm not really taking any more because we have probably a good 1,300 of them in my basement right now.
Mhm.
One of the ladies in one of the OI groups has OI, and she heard about what we're doing. She contacted me, and she goes, I think this is her name is Jennifer. And she goes, I think this is one of the great things you do, because when I was in the hospital as a kid, it was scary and I needed something, you know. So she worked for UMB Bank, which is a big bank out in Kansas City, out that way. And they said, like, we do things for charities. So she let me see if I could get permission, and I would collect stickers and coloring books
Mhm.
and beanie babies or stuffed animals for you. Because when I send out a package, I send out the stuffed animals and like all the little trinkets and toys and everything in there to really they're not expecting that, so they're a little surprised when they get the
Mhm.
coloring books
Mhm.
and other kind of toys in there. So I'm like, okay, sure, great. So a few days later, she contacted me, said like, okay, I got approval, and then I'm gonna put something out building wide, and then about a week later, she sent me a photo of her office, and she had like boxes and boxes of stuff to donate. And then a little bit after that, I get a call from Kim. She's like, we just had FedEx drop off 18 boxes.
Woo.
And I get home and it's like, wow. We put them in the garage, and Kim had some of her students come one day and help separate them. And
Mhm.
that was maybe, God, I think there was like 1,300 of them, plus the ones that we had already people donated to us.
Woo.
So, I mean, I'm really stocked up right now.
Mhm.
So,
Now, what about, I remember last time you were talking about postage.
postage is something we will always, if people want to donate for postage for us, like I said, you can go to the website, or you PayPal. And like I said, it's I was doing the box where you could fit anything in it. It's going to be like 575 or whatever like that. But then it was like, I'm stuffing all this stuff in there. So I just go to the dollar store. I get their big padded envelopes, and I just stuff as much stuff as in there I can. And I send it in the US, I try to send it like within 2 days. But when I have to go out of the United States, it takes up to 7 to 10 days to get
Mhm.
somewhere. And
And
the
that's
international ones
heavy
cost
postage
more.
price. That's
Yeah.
a hefty postage price.
Yeah. I looked into like UPS and FedEx, and it was like just for domestic costs was like more. I'm like, "Yee."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see doing that. What would you like to say before we go to Jodi Picoult about her book and also how she autographed your book? What would you like to say to her?
I'd like to say to her, thank you. Uh, that was such a great tribute to the life and legacy of Allie for signing the book. And thank you for writing the book. And also in the back of the book, I noticed she put like, you want to know more about the OI Foundation. She put the website back there too.
Mhm.
Um, after reading the book, I mean, after Alle passed away, my life experience with OI kind of, stopped there. But from all the stories I hear from people, it's um, kind of true with some of the stuff. Like when they went to Disneyland, like I said, she slipped on the napkin
Yeah.
and she broke. That could happen.
Mhm.
Having the kid taken away because they didn't have the letter. There's are so
Mhm.
many stories of people having their kids taken away. So it's frustrating, especially when, as you see in a book, they had to prove that their daughter had this disease. They
Yeah.
don't, they think it's child abuse.
Mhm.
So thank you, Jody, for writing this book and opening the eyes of one of the many 7,000 rare diseases that are out there. And OI is just one of the 7,000 out there. So
Mhm.
now it's getting a little bit more um, common because of her book.
Yes. Yes. So you guys out there, if you read it, I had got the audio and the book. This is Jody, a cult book. This is our November book. We decided to read it. In fact, I didn't even know that Angelo had the book. He just saw me saying that I'm going to be reading this book. And he said, "Oh, I got it too. I got it too. Almost finished." And I'm like, wow. And it really pushed me to do that. But this story here, I had to back off a little bit. Don't have it personally, this experience, but from hearing all the story here, and then also Amelia, she had some problems herself, cutting, her
Mhm.
overweight. And I like the way Judy Picoult showed how not only was she just was she her sister, she had her own problems as well. And showing the rift in the marriage and how certain things could happen. Not saying that they had happened, but really what got me was the trial. When they went to court,
Mhm.
and I thought for sure that her husband was going to be on her side. So what did you think about that court scene?
I found myself identifying more with Sean
Mm-hmm.
because the wrongful birth, it's like, what do you mean? I'm you people want to think that I don't want my daughter. I'm like, no, I do anything, I sacrifice anything I want to, keep my daughters. I kind of I felt for him more than I definitely would have been on his side in this, and like, I don't want to do this. I mean, I know
Mm-hmm.
we're strapped for cash and everything, but my daughter's going to think like I didn't want her. I'm
Yeah.
just doing this for money, and I know I really felt for him. I was pretty much a little bit on his side. I understood her part of it, but yeah, I pretty much was on his side with that. And the hardest part, I think, with her, and the one part is when she went to one of the OI conferences, and then
Yeah.
people heard about the case, and she was getting all these funny looks. And then I remember the one scene where she was in the bathroom, and the lady came out of one of the stalls and was like, "I'm not sorry my son is born." And she was like, "Excuse me?" And it's one of the many of the parents were mad at her for doing
Yeah.
this. It's like, you know, I have my kid is here. And to be honest, when we went to our first OI conference, we had one person come up to us and say they saw one of the first videos that we did, and it gave them hope
Oh,
because
wow.
the doctor was telling them they should abort. And you hear that a lot. A lot of people, or a lot of OI, or not, excuse me, a lot of X-rays or ultrasounds. People say like, oh, well, if they know they have OI, they say, well, your child doesn't have a hard life. You should abort. And fortunately, this one parent did not. And the baby,
Mm-hmm.
she has OI, but she's a healthy girl. And I think she's probably, I don't know, 11 or 12 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all depends on.
What type this would you did they say what type she had?
I can't remember what type they said she had,
It definitely
but
wasn't two. It wasn't the type
no,
two, based on
uh,
what we know now.
yeah, but there are a lot of people. You hear stories, you see in the OI groups, people saying they were told to abort because once they found out the person had OI. Now, also with OI, like I said, it's a genetic disorder, and it
Mhm.
didn't run in my family. It's just a spontaneous mutation. If one of your parents have OI, it's a 50-50 chance of you having a baby who has OI. And it doesn't
Mm.
matter race, color, if you're rich, poor, what country you are, it is straight 50-50.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're black or white or Spanish or whatever. It doesn't matter if you're in an undeveloped country. It's just straight 50-50.
Wow. So you didn't find out until to having the baby that you guys were carrying a baby that had
Yeah, we didn't know
OI
until the day she was born.
until the day she was born. And I
And it
didn't
wouldn't
like
have made
that
a difference
idea, like
anyway.
you said. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said it wouldn't have made a difference anyway if we knew or not.
Yeah.
We would have
But
had a little bit more direction on how to plan care the day she was born and all that kind of stuff. But
mhm.
you know,
But did you see how Amelia, when well, first of all, I'm thinking, if I remember right, Willow, she was about 6 then, but they seemed like they let her grow up a little bit in the book, and her
mhm,
and her sister were having those different talks. Um, just for her to hear, and it got to the court trial, the court date coming up, for her to hear and to feel that her mother didn't want her. And there was a scene in there where she was driving, like you were driving. She happened to be driving, and
mhm,
she heard
yep,
Willow say that, she didn't want her, and then that, the media, and also Amelia with the media coming around, and
mhm,
since it got to that, and I can say, like you said, Sean did not want that type of heat, that type of drama. And if I'm not mistaken, Amelia had to go on trial or say some things. She had to say a little bit things,
yeah.
was
Well,
going to.
she got mad
Mhm.
because once it was found out was, well, I don't want to spoilers for people, but there's a certain something that happened in the book that she was doing that Willow tried, um and and so she saw her doing it. So once it came out that she was doing it, the parents was talking.
Really? Because I got about this much to go. And
Okay.
I got to the part where, because I heard it all through my, I kind of slept with it on, and I went through the whole audio, but then I wanted to go back through so my eyes can read it. So I actually went through the whole book listening to the audio. And so going back, and I thought that she was telling her about that and explaining about that.
It,
So it was not just in my dream when I heard it
no,
in the audio.
no,
Oh
but
my
I like, well,
goodness,
you say you have a little bit more to go.
just this much.
Okay, well, all I'm gonna
I
say
mean, I
is
heard the
that,
whole thing, but I was just kind of asleep.
okay,
When you fall asleep, I'd heard it in a period
yeah,
of
because
2 days.
Amelia
Mhm.
was was striking back at her parents for what they were wanted to do for her. They
Mhm.
were wanted to do something to help her, but the way they were going to help her, she didn't like. She thought they were kind of getting rid of her.
Yeah,
So that's why she went to the, I call him the sleazy lawyer, Guy Booker.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And said what she said. In essence, it
Mm,
was trying to get back at her parents.
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of there when she's talking to Marina. Is it Mar?
Yeah, the lawyer.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes, yes. So like I said, I had to go back and I need to look and read because I heard the whole audio, but it's nothing like refreshing back and just seeing my eyes on the words. But this is, I would like to say to Jody Picoult, thank you so much. And happy anniversary to you. She told me it
Yes,
was
happy
her
anniversary.
anniversary today. And today marks her anniversary. Otherwise, she came and talked with us. And so thank you so much. That is a good one. And thank you, Angelo, for coming from your daughter's rehearsal and still coming and have this talk with us. Um, I wish blessings over you, you and your wife, that you
Thank you.
guys in this story go far beyond what you could imagine, and that you and your wife won't just be the only ones holding your hands, that the community and those, you're getting a lot of hearts on the Facebook. There's a lot of hearts going up for you. And thank you guys for watching, and share this story, make it go viral, please, so that that Angelo and his wife can get the just due in honoring their daughter, Ella.
Yeah, that's what I
Ellie,
tell people. People ask me
Ellie.
like, what can I do to help? I'm like, to me, the best thing you can do for me is spread the word and share one of my videos out there, because you never know, somebody's going to see something like that one lady years ago who saw our one of our videos and said it gave her hope.
Yes. Yeah, there was a one lady that when I had you before, this is like my
Yes.
second time having you, but she had 4 children, and
Mhm.
all 4 had a disability, well, special needs. She had 4 special needs, and she said that she remember your video. So you don't know who looking, really, you don't know who looking, and those make this go viral, and so that your story will live. So we thank you for being here tonight. Angelo, it's
Thank you for
good
having me.
always having you. And give Ella a big hug. Do you have a picture of her by you?
Oh, actually, yeah.
And she is just very, very talented. And she is so talented. See her? That is his daughter. If you guys could see that. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And the hair gets really big. Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you so much again for being here. Again, give the where folks can reach you at.
Yep, you could reach me. Everything's Alle Project. So our website is www.alleshea project, ALLESHEAPROJECT.org, or
Mhm.
email me at allesheaproject@gmail.com. I do have a Facebook page, which is Alle Project. Do have a Twitter account, which is Alle Project, and also Instagram.
And what would you like for the folks to have as a takeaway?
Always have love in your heart.
Mhm.
You never know what life is going to bring you.
Mhm.
Um, don't be afraid to love, and don't be afraid to cry.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. You are so welcome. Hearts going up with lots of love. And let me see if there's anything on the board. Her name is author April Thomas. April, I'm going to give you his information so you can have him on your show, so that your story would be spread out on her show. She does a YouTube thing and she does it really well. Candace, thank you for being on here. ESZ Tech, thank you so much. I probably just said your name wrong. I appreciate you coming on again. It's good to see you watching the stories. And April said, God bless. She said, yes, she would like to have you on her show.
Thank you.
And she said, thank you. So she'll reach out to you. I'll give her your information and she'll be seeing you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, you're welcome. And thank you everybody for watching. Thanking you guys internationally as well as locally. April, again, thank you. Thank you, Candace, for being here. Do share, make this go viral. And we thank you guys. And I'm gonna let you guys know what's coming up. And again, thank you, Angelo Collazo. Blessings and good night.
Thank
And
you.
you
Good
can
night to
drop
you too.
yourself down. You're welcome.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Again, guys, I'm Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents, where we bring page turners your way. Tonight, our guest was Angelo Collazo, and this is not his book. It was Judy Picoult's book titled Handle with Care. She did send Angelo a autographed copy of her book, and gave him some websites to go to, and wrote this beautiful story. If you guys get a chance to read it. Again, I listened to the entire story on audio, but I wanted to lay my eyes on the pages again. And so thank you so much. Our book of the month for December is Child Bride. So if you guys are following us and you're looking for something to read, and we're getting close to our Black History Month, or really is like, we're going to start it off in December to February. Really, we'll be reading books and some Christmas books, but this book here is in the segregated South of the mid 1900s. It's a 14-year-old male bears witness to a world that embraced the oppression of women. Married off when she turned 16. She journeyed from the South to the city of Boston, where she meets that where she must quickly learn how to be a wife to a controlling and abusive husband. So that is what this one is. And this is our, like I say, our December book of the month. And also stay tuned. Coming up on the 23rd, which is next week, we'll have live on Facebook Live on our show. We will have S.A. Cosby, and his book is Blacktop Wasteland. So he will be here. And the main character here is Beauregard Montage. And take a look, you'll meet his mother, Ella Montage, and she is a hot-butted mess in the nursing home, tearing it up. She is something else. And his father was one of the best getaway drivers. And you'll see fatherhood, caring for your mother. And also you'll see how Beauregard, he wants to work honestly. So with an honest living. So stay tuned for that. And he does have some sons, so you'll meet a little bit of his sons there. And also in December, yes, coming back again, Daniel Black. We're going to read his book, The Coming. And this book, The Coming, tells the story of people captured and sojourned in their homeland as the Middle Passage. So stay tuned for that. I had to cringe a little bit, but I love being engaged with Daniel Black. We'll have him with this book and another book that he has, Don't Cry for Me. And so stay tuned for that. So that's our books. Again, I'm Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents. This was a late show. Thank you again for our guest, Angelo Collazo. His daughter had rehearsal, and so we just had a late show. So again, if you're out there and you would like for your books to be on our lovely pages and to talk about your book, do hit us up on Facebook. We're on Instagram and we're on LinkedIn, but we don't do a lot there, but we are on Instagram. And so we will see you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for every share. Thank you for sharing your data with us. We really do appreciate you. Can't do this without you guys. Again, Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents, signing off.